All right, so it's like yesterday, Monday. You know how Monday mornings are. So I wake up, check my calendar, boom, there's Tommy Walker, 10 o'clock a.m., live interview. I got my lights on, my cameras, everything's ready. I'm sitting there. It's like 9:59. Okay, surely he's going to be calling in here soon. 10 o'clock, 10:02, 10:05. And I'm like, that Tommy, he just I don't know what's up with him. So then I text my producer and I says, Tommy was a no-show. And he says, well, Tommy is actually tomorrow, not today. So now it's tomorrow. Tommy is laughing. You can't hear him, but this is how life goes. Monday mornings, Now it's Tuesday morning. It is 10:05. Tommy's right on time. I'm a super fan of this guy, and we're going to have a great conversation. So here we go. Tommy Walker. Happy Tuesday, Tommy. It's a little bit better than Monday, but it's not quite perfect yet.
Yeah. I'm just kind of disappointed that you thought so badly of me for about 5 minutes there.
It was 5 minutes where I had lower thoughts of you, but they are all re-elevated now, and
Okay.
it's just how it goes. But anyways, so nice to have you. The cool thing is, you know how sometimes, or maybe this doesn't happen to you, but for me, I was all ready to go yesterday, and then discovered I was a day off. But then between yesterday and today, it's like I had new ideas about things that we would talk about. And so now I'm even more excited about this conversation. So there you go.
Great.
Should be a good time. And we were just sharing about you've got a nice selection of guitars there in the background. They're looking awesome. We
Mhm.
were kind of comparing some different guitars that I have. I'm a bit of
Mhm.
a fan of different styles and different things. But I'll tell you something I love about you is I feel like you are constantly pushing the musicianship of, what can be done on a guitar. You are definitely not a 3 or 4 chord player. You show us all that more can be done with a little more practice. And, I'm always like looking at your videos going, how is he shaping his fingers there? What's that chord that he do? Do my fingers do that? I don't think my fingers do that. But I do appreciate that about you.
I gotta jump in right there.
Hmm.
We can talk about it in a minute, but I've been doing these reharmonizations of worship
Hmm.
songs and hymns, mostly on Instagram. But what I when I'm doing all these mini chords in these songs, something people need to try it because I'm very purposeful. It may be a chord that you don't know, but I'm not doing these big stretchy chords. They're only hard because you don't know it. And if you just sit
Right.
down and try to learn it, you can actually get your fingers on it. And of
Yes,
course, we're gonna present that later. But
we are totally.
um, um,
Yeah, it's like
but
someone who doesn't play guitar can't even make a D shape because, their little pinky finger doesn't do that thing. But of course, anyone that does play guitar, that's just so you just have a greater, library of accessible chords that you can play. So,
Yeah, and it's just a passion of mine to remind worship leaders and worship team members to keep growing as a musician. And I'll tell you
hmm.
why. Not only does it give God glory to bring excellence and all that, but it's survival. Like if you don't stay creative in the
Hmm.
process of leading worship and keep growing and learning something new and trying something new, it's one of I do a whole talk on how to not burn out.
Hmm.
But that's one of the things is we underestimate the need for creativity and the need to keep growing as musicians and singers.
Yeah,
So I have a great passion for that.
yeah, I love it. Okay, Tommy, I have a number of things I want to talk to you about, so I'm just going to sort of weave through them. I wanted to start with this question is because you have been around for a long time. I mean, I don't want to say you're old, but you're not like 20, so let's just say that. We'll assume that. Uh, but you are one of like the legendary, what I would consider musicians and worship leaders of modern worship. And could you maybe give me a little bit of an arc of the storyline of your life. Like, where are you at right now? Maybe where have you come? You could take this question wherever you want, but just give me a little bit of an arc of the story of Tommy as a worship leader.
Yeah, that's a long story, and I'll try to make it as short as possible.
Yeah,
But I grew up so awesome in a home where as a little kid there was worship in our home, and it started out with my mom. It literally started out with my mom playing hymns on her baby grand piano and me falling asleep hearing the hymns. But then we would have then in the I was a little kid during the Jesus movement and all these
yeah,
simple praise choruses like "I love you, Lord, and I lift my
yes,
voice," those kind of songs. And so we would sing those in our home. And so I grew up with the very beginnings of what we would consider modern worship, where we were singing songs more of response to what God's doing
yeah,
in our lives, very simple. In fact, some of our meetings were even a cappella or just one guitar. And so then I started getting in Christian bands and learning how to play guitar, and all I cared about, I just wanted to be a guitar hero. um, but as things continued to grow, then skip a bunch of years, and I moved to LA to go to Musicians Institute to study jazz guitar. And when I was there, a musician named Justo Amario, who's a world-renowned Latin jazz sax player, I was a big fan of his. A drummer at that school told me, "Hey, I know this little four-square church where Justo Amario plays on the worship team," and he was a part of a group called Koinonia. I was a huge
yeah.
fan of Koinonia, kind of a jazz fusion Christian band. You should check them out with Abe Laboriel and those guys. So I ended up going to that church, and long story short, I showed up there. I was very shy, and I didn't. But I remember my mom telling me, don't wait for the perfect moment to serve God, but just offer, do something today." So I went up to him. I said, "You don't know me, but I'm here to serve." Long
Hmm.
story short, slowly I became the worship leader at that church. And because of Justo, there was all these other amazing LA session players. And I was trying to write kind of more artist kind of songs and being rejected all the time. And then in a moment, the pastor, Mark Pickrell, said, "Why don't you write songs for Christian Assembly?" So I thought, wow, congregational songs. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started writing songs that the congregation could sing. But my goal was always, how could I make them really easy to sing and congregational, yet underneath really fun to play for all these amazing
Yes,
musicians?
yes,
And so for 20 years, man, we just explored. I called it the Great Worship Laboratory, Christian Assembly,
right.
and we just tried stuff, and then ended up the songs started getting out in record companies, and then did some albums of my own,
Yeah,
and then to this day, still, uh, it makes you less popular, but I just have a need in me to experiment and
yeah.
constantly try to push it and try new things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hearing that quick story of your life, it definitely puts in context. Now I feel like I can understand where you're coming from and why you were pushing the boundaries of like this. And yet you still have a heart for the congregational worship. Like you want people to be able to sing along. You can't lose them, but you want to keep the band interested.
Yeah.
So that's a fine balance. Because a lot of people would
Yeah,
just rest in the let's just do this with our three or four chords, keep it simple, and bands do kind of lose interest then, musicians. I would find that.
yeah. I think a lot of times worship leaders or directors or whatever you want to call them, they forget about their team. So we're
Mm-hmm.
obviously our first job is to engage the congregation in worship, but if your team is completely uninspired and bored and uninterested, they're going to stop showing up to your rehearsals because you're not giving them anything. So I'm always very mindful of in my rehearsals and what I'm preparing for them, is there something in there that's going to highlight their unique gift and something
Yeah.
that's going to make them challenge them a little bit and make them keep growing. And I want to make it really inspiring and fun for them as they're blessing the congregation. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
part of it.
I see that. I'm also a bit interested because I've seen you meander and weave through like the music industry world, different publishers or labels or things, and then now you've kind of landed with this Tommy Walker Ministries. What are the core things that you feel like you have learned, or like where are you right now as far as that part of your journey? What do you want to do with your music and how you get your music out and resourcing the church?
Yeah. Basically, next year we'll celebrate 10 years. And 10 years ago, I just thought, I just want to be able to, I mean, everything's kind of going that way anyways, but I want to like officially give away everything that I make, which not only
Yeah.
the albums, which of course are on Spotify and everything else anyways, but the charts and the stems and tracks and things like that. I want to be able, I want, in fact, I had a guy from he was from India, and I had lunch with him, and he said, if you, the fact that you're just making it so simple to get the stuff for free, I was able to use it. So we're giving everything away. Basically, every country that's online has come to the website, Tommy Walker Ministries,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's been the thing, and being able to continue to explore, and do crazy stuff and highlight some great musicians and all
Yeah.
that. And we're just very blessed and having a great time. And and the whole other model of it, instead of creating whatever I'm creating so that I think I can sell enough of it so that I can keep going, has gone away. Now just people that believe in what I'm doing donate,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
which is kind of how
This
it
is
worked
beautiful.
for Bach and all those guys way back in the centuries. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Tommy, I want you to know, like, even though, of course, I'm representing Praise Charts, and Praise Charts is this big platform where, of course, we sell all this music, but these are some realities of you got copyrights and publishing and licensing and all that stuff nobody wants to hear about. But I have that same kind of heart with you of I love the fact that you're giving your music away, and I don't think that it doesn't cheapen it. It just definitely makes it accessible to the whole world. And I don't know if you might not know this, but I found a way 2 years ago to create a specific type of chart in Praise Charts where for all the songs we give that away. It's called a stage chart, and it's just the chords without the lyrics. And I literally pay royalties every time somebody downloads the song. It costs me, I don't know, 10 or 15 cents or something, which adds up, if you have 100 or 1,000 people downloading them every day or week or month. But I just sometimes I look in Google and see all these churches from India or Nigeria
Mhm.
or Philippines or like all these countries around the world, and they're coming to Praise Charts just like they're coming to Tommy Walker. And there's no gap for them to grab the stuff that is free, right? And
Yeah.
then I'm
Yeah,
thinking
like
also, go
the
ahead.
guy from India the guy from India told me, if your chart costs $1, I wouldn't have been able to have it.
Right.
And then we have like a story of a guy's like, I use your background tracks, and I have this little speaker, and I take it up into the jungle in Vietnam because
Oh,
it's against the law, and it's a communist country, and I have a youth group, and we meet in the jungle, and we sing to your tracks, and I couldn't do it if it wasn't free. So it's kind of
yes.
I think represents a time in history where we're at, where God is moving so mightily in countries that are not America. Of course, He's working here
Yeah.
too, but and then technology is just
Yeah.
enabling us to do
I know.
this. So let's go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing I just wanted to tell you is I am with you, and you and I were talking right now about how we can work together better in the future. We'd love to represent your music more in praise charts. We've got some new chart styles that are going to show some of these crazy chords you're making and how people can
Yeah.
do them. And but I just want you to know how much I appreciate your desire to take uh, the the obstructions away from people all over the world being able to get the music. And I feel that heartbeat, and I know it can be a sometimes a frustrating navigation through like industry stuff in behind the scenes, Those are just realities that we have to find our way.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you
Yeah.
in that. So
I want to mention too, because I'm happy you're going to partner with me. So I I whatever I'm doing on Instagram, and I did that old song, I love you, Lord, and I lift my
yes,
voice.
yes,
So I did, I love you, Lord, but with 30 chords to create a curiosity. And then I
yes,
figure as an old guy, I'm starting to, you sometimes you figure out Instagram or something like, oh, you have to create a curiosity. You have to create a reason why people would
yes,
want to be curious to click on it. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the world we live in now. So then, over 500,000 people viewed this song. So then I started doing more and more of these, and then people are all asking for the chart. And so then I I said, if anybody really wants the chart, if you'll download it, I'll make them, but they take a long time to make. So
yeah, yeah,
I made, but I could only make it for the hymns because they're public domain. So then
yeah,
2,000 people downloaded the Nothing But the Blood chart. But then I talked to you because a lot of people are asking for my Holy Forever version,
yes.
and but I couldn't give it away because of
I
everything.
know.
So then I thought I'll just ask Ryan, and maybe we can work
Yeah,
something out. And so, well, it's going to take a couple of weeks to get it together, but
yeah.
maybe you could tell him how you're going to do that.
Yeah. Well, this is great. We both have the desire to try to just get the music to the people, and there are ways. Unfortunately, sometimes it just can't be always for free, but it doesn't have to mean, break the bank at all. It's just
Yeah.
and for anyone to know, and Tommy, you know this too, because you're a musician, like we all got to make a living somehow, right? Like if you're a plumber
Yeah.
or you're a construction person, we don't work for
Mhm.
free. And I want musicians who are dedicating their lives to like writing great songs to feel like they can focus in on that and not just in the wee last hours of their day after they've exhausted doing their other jobs. Some people do this like full time, right? So it's a legitimate thing. And
Yeah.
anyway, so we'll find a way to
Yeah.
do that. We definitely have the means. And if you are even watching this YouTube video a couple of weeks or months after we recorded this, all this music will be available. So we will definitely make a place for it. But this conversation is really, I want people to just, well, I want to just know a little bit more about, the journey that you've come and what, makes your heart really beat. And like I say, I've been watching lots of your videos. I feel like I've watched your family kind of grow up through these videos. Eileen is your daughter, who you say now has just had her first child. And I remember the first video I watched of her. I feel like she was 12 or 14, but she was singing with the confidence and fierceness of a 25-year-old. She just, something about that. So, can you tell me a little bit about this family Walker thing you got going on? I just love it.
Yeah, it just reminds me of a story that it's on YouTube, and we did Blessed Assurance, and we're at this mega church recording this thing, and we have like a 400 voice choir, and Eileen's like 12 years old or something,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm giving her the solo, right? I'm like, I'm trying to make her nervous, right? Like,
yeah,
Eileen, you do all your runs and everything. Just be careful. Just make it simple. Just don't
yeah,
screw up,
yeah, yeah.
which is the total wrong thing to say.
Right.
So she's doing her thing, and then she's just this little kid. I don't know any strange. Anyway, she's totally like doing it, yeah, and doing all these
Yeah,
licks and everything. And I'm like, I can't tame this girl down. And I remember talking to her when she was little. I was saying, "Do you know what stage fright is?" She goes, "What's stage fright?" It's a little weird. Like I had stage fright. She
yeah,
just never had it.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just like I said earlier, I grew up with worship in my home, so I brought that to my home. I have four
Yes.
kids. Eileen's my youngest, actually. And so it's just worship is not like some musical genre for us. It's our life, it's how we
Hmm.
connect with God. And
Mm-hmm.
it's how, and by the way, that's another huge thing for me is that the generations worship together.
Yes.
And in America, especially, I think we're the worst. Like everyone's too cool for the other generation or whatever.
Yeah.
And And God, he says when you pray, say, Our Father. He's the family guy, right? So
Hmm.
no doubt he likes it when we worship together. And one of the problems is the younger don't want to learn from the older, and the older, by the way, don't really want to learn from the younger, but both ways. There's
Yeah.
things that Eileen, for example, can teach me. There's no way I can know it because culture is part of what we're
Yeah.
doing is relating to culture. I don't know culture. I just found out that skinny jeans are finally out. Now it's back to baggy jeans. Which that was always the worship leader
Yeah.
joke, you got to just have skinny jeans. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, that was 25 years, but it's over
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. It's over.
But yeah, all that to say, just to bless the Father heart of God that we could worship together. And I want to speak to the older worship leaders there. Be open to learn from them. Learn their songs.
Yeah.
Learn how to play it. Learn the way they do it the best you can. Of course, you can't do it exactly, but
Yeah.
try. And both ways, it's humility to learn from each other. And it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing to, like you said, it's really awesome. You've kind of it's true. You've watched Eileen grow up, and yeah, now she's a mom and she's
Mm-hmm.
still a worship leader, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's great.
Well, I want to tell you something I see when I watch the videos, because I don't know, Eileen, I don't know any of your family. I've just watched from a distance, just like anybody else does. But I want to tell you something, Tommy, that I think about when I see all that is your father heart. Like when I look at Eileen and the confidence that she has, and I think, what kind of dad
Mm.
releases that kind of confidence? Sure, certainly someone is born with a certain personality and all of that, but somehow you have incubated that. And I just kind of wanted to honor you that you're not going to say that about yourself, but I'm going to say that about you is I see you as a dad reflecting the father heart of God, because obviously that's where you're getting this all from, but I see it in you, and I just really admire that the whole family, the community, that the whole vibe that you emulate from the picture you're giving us when you do these songs speaks of that to me. I mean, I would want to emulate that. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I've been very
Hmm.
blessed with some great father mentors,
Hmm.
and like I said, I mean, what greater gift could I have than to worship with my kids,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
think I think maybe we don't give our kids enough opportunity in the church because we're trying to make the church uh, so perfect. I don't know, the worship or whatever, but we got to get them up on that stage and let them fail and succeed and explore
Hmm.
and learn and that's
Hmm.
how they grow,
Hmm.
but that's one
Really good.
thought.
Okay, let's just talk. Let's actually look at some actual music that you have made. I got my laptop up here, and we can. So this is an album you've just put out. I want to talk about this latest album, and then I mean, for those of you, if you can go and look for Tommy Walker, we've got all his music. Some of you may even have forgotten about songs like "He Knows My Name." I mean, that's a song I grew up on. That was a classic, legendary song, like "I Love You, Lord." Like these are the types of songs that everybody knew, and we just sang almost. But so all of those, and then new music, song of the week, all that stuff. We have been collecting all of your music and praise charts over the years, but I think you'll see more and more resources coming as we continue this relationship now. But let's focus in on this highest praises, and then I actually want to play a little bit of "We Worship You," because that such a worshipful song and so rich musically as well. It just has some
Yeah.
depth to it that is still accessible but interesting to play. Do you want to walk me through a little bit of this album or even that song, and then we'll just
Yeah.
listen to it a bit together?
Yeah, actually, speaking of Eileen, this is an album that we did together, and she wrote half the songs, and I wrote half the songs, and
Hmm.
her songwriting would definitely be more simple and more modern worshipy, where mine would be a little
Mm-hmm.
jazzy or whatever you want to call
Mm-hmm.
it. But it's a purposeful fusion and coming together into each other's world in that sense. Of course, we've been doing it together anyways, but yeah, this song, which she helped write the vamp part, which is the best part of the whole song. Yeah, it's kind of a gospely song, but it's actually not. It's not very hard to play, and it's just a song that's landed at our church that just really explodes into worship in a powerful way. The message of it
Hmm.
is is we worship God ultimately, not because of all the things he does for us, but it's the position that he holds. He is the I am. He is it.
Hmm.
He's the uncreated one. He's the one that he's not in our category, you know.
Right,
We will
right.
worship him ultimately because he's God. So that's the message of the song. And yeah, it's one of my favorites from that album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like it like you're saying, it says we worship you not for the things you do, not for the blessings. Like it's not just that you're the gift giver, and you are, but that's not ultimately what
Right.
precludes our worship. That's what you're coming out of the gate saying. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna play a little bit of this. I'm just playing this off of Praise Charts. So we got like, I think, can you hear that? Is that coming through a little bit?
Sounds great.
Okay. This is the real chart that we've got there.
With mercies brand new, but because there is no one above you, just because you are God.
This is where the church would just sail. Yeah.
Can you skip to the bridge, the
Yeah.
vamp?
I wish let's see. Is that it?
No, 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 no.
Oh, sorry. I've I only have the preview here. So people are
That's
gonna have
okay.
to go to
That's all right. No
Spotify
problem.
to listen to it. Or you'll sing it for us. There you go. Sing the bridge.
Yeah. Okay, I have a guitar right
Okay, let's do it. Here we go.
here.
Bring up Tommy.
All
This is what people
blessing.
want. Here we go.
That's it.
Okay.
All blessing.
Oh yeah.
All honor. All strength and all power.
Yes.
I'm forgetting it. Be unto
Yeah,
the Lamb, unto the King.
yeah.
I
Even Tommy
forgot
doesn't
it.
know his own song. So there you go.
Oh man, I screwed that up. Anyways, it's the chorus is big, but the
Yes.
vamp is even bigger, you know.
I love
Sorry.
it. And of course, that was the part that Eileen brought to the song, right?
Right, yeah, yeah.
So, see, that's where you're just saying we got to learn from the young folks because they've got something
Yes,
to bring, and that
absolutely.
is, of course, your heart. So, anyways, we can't go through all those songs here, but there are lots of songs. I'm sure that they are, all as rich as that, which is wonderful. Another theme of yours, is that I wanted to talk about. You've got the whole generation theme. That's a thing that you were talking about before, and you've actually put that into several albums with hymns and carols. But we're coming up to Christmas time. So, at least when we're recording this video, why don't we just talk a little bit about the Generation Carols? You've had this out for a number of years, but I'm thinking you're trying to bring that spirit of worship right into
Yeah,
Christmas, right? This is not just like, oh,
yeah,
let's just sing Christmas carols, but like, let's worship around a theme of the incarnation and well, you tell me about your heart for this.
yeah. If any worship leader out there knows that Christmas time is a difficult time to
Mm-hmm.
engage a congregation because everyone goes into caroling mode, or we need to hear you perform for us mode. So I don't even know exactly what it is, but it's always like, well, now we can't do, you know, gratitude or whatever the popular song is that our
Yeah.
church loves to sing right now, because we have to do all these other songs, and then the church is just like staring at you. Anyway, so that's the idea behind this is there is carol arrangements on there, but then there's songs that are with Christmas theme, um, but are worshipful. But one that comes to my mind, which actually is a a Christmas carol, but it works really great at our church, is the come
Come
I
thou
wasn't
long
prepared for
expected
this.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
got it right here. No problem. I'll help you out.
Yeah, that that version just really works in worship. I I also, just before I forget, I think you have these charts, but I have another Christmas album called "This Is What Christmas Means to Me." It's a blue cover. I don't know if you have,
Okay, I'll look for
but
it. Well, look at this. Here we are. This is what if I don't have it, we'll get it. What Christmas means. There you
there it
go. I
is.
think that's it, right? The album. We found it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And there's a song on there. I'm just highlighting another one that works really great. It's called "It's Your Presence, Lord." It's just talking about the
Got it
present that
right
I
there.
want is
Yeah.
God's
Yep.
presence. And
Yep.
actually the song, the title cut song, and "This Is What Christmas Means to Me," that's another one that Christian Assembly does every year for decades now.
Hmm.
So anyways, I just in if people are looking for Christmas music, I would check out both of those albums, not just the
Yes.
newer one.
Yeah, I pulled out the chart for the top song that we have right now for the Generation Carols. Now I lost it here, so let me just find it again. This is so unrehearsed that we're just doing this. This is how we roll, Tommy. Generation Carols, Joy to the World. I noticed we actually got the full tracks here. If you want to listen to the song, you can just play. It's not the cut track. It's like the full thing. So listen to it, but it's got a nice. You've always got a little bit of brass in there too, It's all the instruments. So and there's the charts. Awesome. Awesome.
All right, here we go.
I feel like, when we could not only learn a song, but I feel like you can just grow as a musician following these charts and going, oh, that F minor 7 over E flat, that actually works so nicely there.
Yeah.
I've never known that chord
Yeah,
before, right? So
yeah, that's
love
right.
that. Love that.
I'm gonna say it again.
Yeah.
You gotta keep learning for survival.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for
So,
sure. Okay, well, just to give a little hint at what's coming, I wish I forgot to put a sample of the chart up here, but we have these new charts that you've been making, these reharmonizations, where basically it's just a song that you would know, the lyrics, not the melody and all that, and then just really big, clear chords where you're showing exactly the chords that people can make. And I'm excited for those. We're going to go beyond just the hymns to some well-known songs like
right.
Holy Forever. You're talking about the Chris Tomlin version of that song that you have reharmonized a bit?
That yes, but it's chord
Awesome.
diagrams, so every finger is, you know exactly the chord voicings. Yeah,
Yes, yes. I can't wait to hear that and see that and learn
and
learn myself. So,
and you can go on Instagram and hear it. That basically how this originated is they're reels, so they're all just 90 seconds long or less. So it's just a part of the song, but packed with interesting reharmonization and chords. Not hard to play chords, just chords you probably
Yeah.
wouldn't think of, or maybe
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm excited that you're helping me get this out, especially with the non-hymn ones, because
Yes.
as I'm saying, it's gonna maybe inspire musicians to keep growing. Not only, by the way, another passion of my life is just that not only musicians, but that Christians and all of us be a people that are lifelong learners
Yeah.
and lifelong growers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to keep growing. There's a tree outside right there, and it's alive, and therefore it's still growing. You're like, we got to
Right.
keep
Yeah.
going forward. And so that these little charts will be a little tiny part of that. So that's
Very
great.
good. Love it. Okay, well, this has been an interesting conversation. It's funny. I've been looking at this little piece of paper. I don't know if this can come into focus here, but this is my notes for this. I came prepared, man. And I think we've checked off pretty much everything. If you look at that, if you want to know what this little podcast was about, that was it. So much covered,
Awesome.
such a great life that you're living, and I'm glad to be on this journey with you. So thank you. This is
Yeah,
Ryan Dahl, Tommy Walker.
thank
Tons of
you.
great music already on Praise Charts. More coming. And the bottom line is grow as a musician and as a worship leader, and and then let the generations come together. So, all right. Thank you very much, Tommy.
Well
Very
said.
good. See you then.
I
Bye.
thank you.